You may be seated. Good morning and welcome to all of our faculty, staff, students, and guests here at the Jefferson Center and to those viewing over the ceremony over live stream. We gather today in this historic venue, this beautiful place, as is our tradition, to celebrate the commencement ceremony of our 11th graduating class, the class of 2024 from the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. A medical student does not make it to this day alone. There are many others supporting, encouraging, and guiding them in this journey. Parents, grandparents, and siblings, spouses, partners, and children, extended family and friends, fellow students, alumni, and many others. Thanks to each of you for helping shape the development of our students into thoughtful, curious, and humanistic physicians. Also attending today are faculty, physicians, educators, scientists, healthcare professionals, and patients whom have each contributed to the education of our students. For your efforts, each student is now poised to continue their training and to become the practicing physician you would choose for yourself or your family, the kind you would want to call my doctor. So students, before we continue with our program, I would ask that you stand and join me in thanking everyone here who has made this day possible for you. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. And students, you may retake your seats. I'm pleased to welcome several special guests who are joining us this morning in person. Some are seated here on stage and others throughout the audience. Virginia Tech's Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Cyril Clark, and his wife, Dr. Jean Clark. The Honorable Sherman Lee, Mayor of Roanoke, and Vice Mayor Joe Cobb. Our former Vice Dean at Virginia Tech School of Medicine and the former Chief Academic Officer at Carilion Clinic, who helped steward the creation of our medical school, the now retired Dr. Dan Harrington. Virginia Tech's University Registrar and Associate Vice Provost for Learning Systems Innovation and Effectiveness, Rick Sparks. Carilion Clinic's Senior Vice President of Governmental Affairs and Carilion Clinic's Director of Workforce Development, who both have been boosters and supporters of our medical students from day one, Mark and Cynthia Lawrence. Welcome and thank you all for being with us. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Virginia Tech's Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Cyril Clark. Provost Clark joined Virginia Tech in 2013 as Dean of the Virginia Maryland College of Veterinary Medicine after a distinguished career as an academic department head and Associate Dean at Oklahoma State University and Dean of the College of Veterinary Medicine at Oregon State University. He became the Executive Vice President and Provost of Virginia Tech in January of 2019 after serving in an interim capacity since November 2017. We are grateful that Provost Clark is here today to share this special occasion with us. As a veterinarian, PhD clinical pharmacologist, teacher, and researcher, Provost Clark understands the many facets of medical education that make our curriculum and our graduates unique among medical schools. And he was recently honored by the Louisiana State University School of Veterinary Medicine with its 2024 Distinguished Alumnus Award for PhD graduates. Please welcome Dr. Provost Cyril Clark. Dr. Provost.
Thank you, Dean Lehrman. And on behalf of the faculty, the staff, and the leadership of Virginia Tech, I'm so pleased to congratulate the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine graduating class of 2024. Congratulations. As the Chief Academic Officer at Virginia Tech, I have the responsibility of advancing the tripartite mission of our land-grant university, a mission committed to education, research, and service. The MD degree program that you have completed successfully exemplifies how best to accomplish this mission in a student-centered, evidence-based manner, and one that demonstrates our university's motto, Ut Prosim, that I may serve. The education that you have received modeled the commitment of Virginia Tech to a student-centered learning by your engagement in small group, problem-based learning, and experiential learning in clinical settings. The requirement that you conduct impactful research allowed you to understand the importance of evidence-based medicine. And your participation in interprofessional healthcare delivery teams helped to prepare you for a lifetime of dedicated service. This global service-minded perspective is essential because everything of consequence that happens in Virginia is connected in some way with people, with places, and events around the world. As physicians, researchers, academicians, and servant leaders, your success and commitment to improving the human condition will depend on your ability to connect across borders and fields of study and work collaboratively with others in meaningful ways. Each of you has the opportunity, and I would say the responsibility, to use your talents and experiences to impact others positively, to advance the welfare of people through your service to patients and the medical profession. You will often be on the front line of our collective effort to meet the diverse needs of a global community, especially those who are disadvantaged or living on the margins of our society. The current and expanding commitment of the school to health systems implementation science will play an important role in ensuring that research accomplishments and healthcare delivery innovations have direct and positive impacts on patient care. The education that you have received exemplifies this commitment, and I anticipate will be reflected in your practice as physicians. I wish each of you personal and professional success. So, please pause for a moment to celebrate your accomplishments and thank your professors, family, and friends for their support, and then get back to work. Thank you and congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, Provost Clark, for your wonderful comments and insights this morning. Class of 2024, in July of 2020, you remember, you moved here to Roanoke from the isolation of a global pandemic to start your medical education in the most challenging of times. The anticipatory excitement of beginning this journey was muted by other feelings: anxiety, uncertainty, and guardedness. I had great confidence that you would emerge with strength, and you have. Class of 2024, you showed extraordinary courage navigating concerns and differences in risk perception and responding to the frequent changes in pandemic protocols that unfolded both in our classrooms and in the clinical learning environment. And as students in a medical school that prides itself on continuous innovation and improvement, you experienced new elements of our curriculum and helped improve them. With determination and adaptability, you not only mastered the intricacies of medical science essential for medicine, but also cultivated the essential qualities of empathy, compassion, and integrity that define great physicians. You triumphed over historic challenges without allowing the experience to diminish your drive to serve others. Class of 2024, thank you for your investment of trust in the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine and for your engagement with us, with each other, and with our community over these past 4 years. Your actions put the VTC School of Medicine mission, vision, and values into practice. On behalf of our faculty and staff who supported your medical education and development as future physicians, we are all very proud of you. Families, friends, and faculty and staff, we can all take pride in these graduates as they go forth to continue their careers with curiosity, humility, and zeal for excellence. They will go forward to become exemplary, patient-centered physicians who work to improve the health of the communities they serve. Their standards will be high, to care for patients just as they would expect their loved ones to be treated. We look forward to keeping in touch with them and celebrating their successful careers as our newest alumni. Class of 2024, it is now your turn to give the audience a student perspective of the class. First from the class president, Casey Engel, and then from the 2 students who have been selected by their classmates for this honor, Martin Barilak and L.B. Canary. Casey Engel. She's on her way up. Hey, Casey.
Good morning. Today marks a momentous occasion, a culmination of years of hard work and unwavering determination. As I stand before you, I am filled with immense pride and gratitude for the journey we have taken together. From the very beginning of our medical education, we came together as a class to establish the guiding principles that would shape our journey through med school and beyond. These principles were born out of our shared experiences, our collective aspirations, and our steadfast dedication to the practice of medicine. Today, as we stand on the precipice of our future as physicians, I am encouraged by the guiding principles that we wrote together 4 short years ago that serve as a testament to who we are as individuals, as a class, and as future leaders in the field of medicine. We are passionate. Driven by insatiable curiosity, we forge ahead in the pursuit of truth. As students and as future physicians, we pledge to broaden our understanding and deepen our wisdom, to transform our knowledge into action. Together, we will strive to treat the patient as a whole and promote the well-being of those who are entrusted to our care. Undeterred by the unknown, we aspire to innovate, aiming to advance the fields of medicine and healthcare beyond its current horizons for the benefit of humanity. We are resilient. Tempered by the hardships of the global COVID-19 pandemic, we rise above adversity. In the face of life's challenges, we will thrive in our own adaptability and propel each other beyond our own expectations. Together, we will work to sharpen our strengths and rectify our flaws. to change and be changed. We dare to break down barriers, fight against injustice, and advocate for the respect, well-being, and dignity of all. We are a community, one woven by individuals of unique backgrounds and from all walks of life. United in our diversity, we celebrate our differences and stand together in camaraderie. Through our empathy and compassion, we will seek to improve the lives of all who cross our paths. Together, we vow to listen generously and serve wholeheartedly, to support each other in our hardships and laugh together through our pain, to love unconditionally and without fear. We are the class of 2024. As we embarked on the next chapter of our journey, let us continue to embody the spirit of resilience, compassion, and community that has defined us from the very beginning. Congratulations, my friends, on this accomplishment. The future awaits us, and I have no doubt that we are ready to meet it. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce our first student speaker from the class of 2024. In a class filled with exceptional individuals, Martin stands out not only for his academic achievements, but also for his extraordinary kindness, compassion, and humor. Amidst the rigors of med school, Martin's empathy has been a source of strength and support for us all. His ability to lift spirits and bring smiles to our faces, even during the toughest of times, is a testament to his remarkable character. I'm hopeful that at some point today we'll also get to see his signature dance move, the Marty. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Martin Barilak.
Thank you so much, Casey, for the extremely kind words. So I prepared this speech for you all, but I think I'm just going to speak from here. My name is Martin Barilak, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to speak to this room of extraordinarily bright minds. As many of you know, LB and I were chosen to speak today by our fellow peers. I just want to say how much it means to me and how much of an absolute honor and privilege it is to disappoint all 41 of you. I want to start off with a short story. The story can be interpreted in one of two ways. Either a tale of growth, resilience, and defying the odds, or a glaring oversight in the Virginia Tech Medical School admissions process. When I was a senior at Boston College and finally finished the scam we refer to as the pre-med curriculum, which consists of hardly anything medical at all, I was able to take my first course that felt relevant to my career path. It was titled Narrative Neuroscience, and we read papers and books on different patients' lived experiences with different neurological diseases. The first book we read followed the story of a patient with Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS. For the non-medical friends and family members, or the like-minded classmates that have flushed every ounce of medical knowledge throughout this year, GBS is a rare condition in which a person's immune system attacks its own nerves. In this book, the patient had a particularly severe form of the disease that caused extreme debilitation in a very short amount of time. The symptoms of GBS often start in the extremities of the limbs and then can progress more centrally. On our exam about this book, the first question of my first medically relevant course exam was a question to highlight that symptom pattern. It read, "In what two locations did Sarah first experience her symptoms?" I'll read that again. In what two locations did Sarah first experience her symptoms? The correct answer to this fill-in-the-blank question was her hands and feet. I'd like you all to picture the look of horror on my face when I saw 3 massive red question marks next to my answer of her bedroom and bathroom. If you happen to be in my small residency program in Boston listening to this live stream, no take-backsies. I've certainly come a long way since then, and it's been incredibly inspiring to see the growth of my outstanding classmates from first year until now. We went from lectures on 2 times speed to suggesting treatment plans, from thousands of flashcards to holding hands with patients in difficult times, from cadaver lab to chest compressions. These years were not without obstacles. The stress of beginning medical school unforgivingly harmonized with the stress of a global pandemic. We were the first class to apply to residency with a massive change in board exam scoring. We had new grading systems, schedules, residency application structure, and constantly echoed sentiments of feeling like a guinea pig class for massive change. But amidst all this change was a bright, shining constant, and that was all of you. Significant others, family, friends, mentors, and faculty that supported us and equally sacrificed for us during this time. I'd love if you all join me for another round of applause for our support systems, those here today and those who couldn't be here with us, who don't get nearly the thanks and the credit that they deserve. Graduation commemorates a chapter closing, and this is a chapter we all worked extremely hard to write. I hope we enjoy this moment and this feeling. We certainly earned it. However, I know for this class, today is just a new starting point. These budding physicians, researchers, and community leaders will put so much good into our world, and I couldn't be more proud or more excited to see you all carry your torches everywhere you go. Everyone in this room brings something to the table, and I hope we continue to make tables plenty and continue looking for bedrooms and bathrooms when the whole world is answering hands and feet. Class of 2024, it's been an honor. Thank you, and good luck. It's my pleasure to introduce the final student speaker, LB Canary. I think I speak for all of us when I say that LB is the heart of this class. Her impeccable standing as a student is only outshined by her life-changing advocacy work for vulnerable populations in the Roanoke community and beyond. LB wears many hats for our class, including our voice of reason, our caller to action, our collective moral compass, but most importantly, an unwavering friend. Please join me in welcoming LB.
You all so much. Martin doesn't like bragging about himself, so we have to brag on him every chance we get. I may or may not have covered his car in some Harvard stickers this morning, just so that everyone in Boston knows what's up. All right. Thank you all so much for the opportunity. I definitely did not see this in the cards when we first came to school, and I accepted my fate as the weird Barbie of our class. But you all have accepted me. Despite my choice in goggles those first few months. And I really think it speaks to just how inclusive you all are. And I really appreciate it. How are you guys feeling? Are we excited? Are you like a little bit terrified too? I'm absolutely terrified, just to be completely honest. I feel like the weight of these degrees feels so significant. It's just so much responsibility that's gonna be conferred upon us today. And having them is gonna give us immense privilege instantly, right? It's gonna launch us into these positions of influence, deserved or not. And I've seen this firsthand in my career prior to coming to medical school. For those who don't know, I worked as an epidemiologist at the CDC and then as an advocate on Capitol Hill, trying to get those epidemiologists more money to do public health work. And I used to go from congressional office to congressional office, begging lawmakers to care about public health. This is in 2019, so you can see where that was heading. But rather than feeling like an epidemiologist or an advocate, I usually just felt like a desperate ex-girlfriend waiting for a call back, to be honest. I would try to appeal to their young staffers by slipping T-Swift lyrics into my PowerPoint presentations and graphs. It's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me, hepatitis C. Would have worked on Brandon. It was painful, y'all. But if a doctor came in, it was like this red carpet was rolled out. We got to meet with everyone, and they actually listened to us, which is really cool. But now more than ever, we need physicians to be in those meetings, elevating the voices of their patients, sharing their expertise, because I don't know if y'all have noticed, but healthcare is in a bit of a crisis right now. You know, we've all seen those statistics about how much money we spend on healthcare and how poor our outcomes are relative to that spending. But on top of that, during the last 4 years of our training, 4 short years, we've witnessed the life expectancy decline, tragically in some groups much more than others. We've watched our patients' sacred rights to their bodily autonomy and their ability to make decisions about their body be stripped away state by state. And we've even seen physicians and hospitals be targeted in acts of war. But I would argue that there's no class better equipped than ours to step into this dumpster fire than we who were forged amid another one. Am I right? We got this. You know, we trained during this global pandemic and in amid a national reckoning with systemic racism. And we learned medicine from a perspective totally different than any class that's come before us. You know, as we studied the pathophysiology of the coronavirus, we also knew that the intracellular processes that we were coming to understand couldn't actually explain why patients of color were dying at such higher rates. For that, we had to look at the system-level pathologies that needed our attention just as much as the individual. And thankfully, we were at this institution that valued our training and our growth as physician scientists and system thinkers. And we hit the ground running, right? When we saw inequities in our experiences here in Roanoke, we worked to address them. During our M2 year, we noticed that the care teams in the hospital didn't reflect our community members and the makeup of our community members. So our classmates, with the very, very, very little free time they had in their second year of medical school, taught local high schoolers underrepresented in medicine, neurology, cardiology. Alana, Megan, you guys did so much work. It was incredible. And that program is still going strong today. I've heard it's really popular among the M1s and M2s. And hopefully in a couple years, we'll see some of those students here in these seats at Virginia Tech because they know that they can do it and they can be in medicine too. During our M3 year, members of our class chose not only to call their representatives and advocate for access to OBGYN care, but they recruited students and faculty from all across the state of Virginia, every other medical school. You know who you are, Casey, Celine. You guys did so much work elevating leaders around you to make a difference. And that program too has been sustained. Y'all are making lasting change in this community. According to Dr. Kamara Phyllis-Jones, who I had the opportunity to learn from when I was in Atlanta, she says that it's this kind of collective action that not only can inform us of what's happening in our communities and inspire us, but it can propel us forward in our careers, and really importantly, that action can protect us from burnout because we feel like we're doing something. So for both our patients and ourselves, I hope that we will continue this path as we go forward in residency and beyond. And I also hope that we won't be tricked into looking away from these injustices and just waiting until we get to that next stage. Once we're in attending, once we're faculty, then we'll take action, right? Because it turns out throughout our lifetime, there's always gonna be that other position dangling in front of us. And if we keep waiting and waiting and waiting to take action, by the time we get to the top, we're gonna look like a shell of ourselves now. And we'll be so disconnected from the realities of the ground because we've been looking away for so long. And sometimes we'll probably worry about the professional consequences of speaking up. Let me tell you, I'm getting a degree today, so I guess it's okay. They still let you graduate. But as my former Senator John Lewis said, getting into good trouble has a way of serving you well in the long arc of time. So if we advocate professionally and collaboratively and with our patients' well-being as our priority, then we can rest assured that we're doing the right thing. Our classmate Dev, sitting right here up front, we all adore, she had the bravery to do this during one of her clerkships. As a student going into surgery, an incredibly competitive field, It was risky for her to question the judgment of her superiors on her team, her residents, her attendings. You know, she's probably worried about what her recommendation letters will look like in her evals, but she put her patient first. She had concerns about him being discharged, and she raised those concerns professionally and collaboratively advocating for him. And it ended up saving his life. Yep. She spoke up, she risked getting in trouble, and she is still gonna be a surgeon, and a damn good one at that. But of course, we're not always gonna be successful in our advocacy, right? There may be times when we know that the odds are stacked against us so far that we'll wonder what's even the point of speaking up? Like, my one voice can't make a difference, right? But in those moments, I'd like us to remember a Roanoke physician who's here with us today. His name is Dr. Ryan White. He's a child psychiatrist who I met last summer when the Roanoke County School Board was considering adoption of transphobic policies. Dressed in a dapper suit and a bow tie that would make even our Vice Mayor Joe Cobb proud. He's got a good one on today, if you haven't noticed. He spoke from his clinical experience. He shared national guidance from the world's leading experts on adolescent mental health as he appealed to them not to pass these harmful policies. And do you know what happened? They discounted the medical evidence and adopted the policies anyways. It turns out politicians do that sometimes. Danny, you're gonna see a lot of that in Georgia. I'm really sorry. Prepare yourself now. But do you know who was listening? The dozens of trans and queer teens in the audience that day. For these youth, having just one supportive adult can reduce their risk of suicide by 40%. And Dr. Ryan is that adult for many, whether in his clinic or in the community. He's saving lives. I asked a middle schooler in attendance what it meant to them to have Dr. Ryan advocate for them, and they said, "It's a big deal to have a doctor speak out. I'm just a teenager. No one cares what I say. But when a doctor says it, people listen." So even if we don't change policy, even if we don't win, people will be listening to us, and we'll never know what kind of effect that may have. So let's go forth. Let's use our voices. Let's use them wisely, of course. Dr. Knight doesn't need any more drama from our class. We've already made him retire once, let's not do it again. Let's vow not to become one of those doctors that goes on YouTube and tells people to inject bleach into their veins. Let's just not be one of those quacks. But let's use the privilege that comes with these 2 letters that are gonna be after our names to care for our patients, not just in the hospitals and the clinics, but in our communities too. And just remember, we were made for this dumpster fire. Thank you. Guys. Well, without further ado, I guess I should introduce a man who for us really needs no introduction because he's on speed dial on most of our phones if we have a life crisis. But for those in the audience who don't know him, I'm delighted to invite to the podium a physician who is regarded by students, staff, and faculty as an omniscient source of wisdom for any of life's dilemmas, personal and professional, an accomplished and compassionate geriatrician in the best field of medicine, that is family medicine. Dr. Jeremiah knows what that's about. Fashionista, known for wearing the most epic match day outfits. He's so beachin'. A visionary who has had a central role in making VTC what it is today, solidifying here a culture of excellence and inclusion during his 13 years in leadership. Our beloved Dean of Student Affairs, the one, the only, Dr. Aubrey Knight.
Thanks, Ilby, for that kind introduction and for that clear call to action. And thank you, class of 2024, for being willing to put up with me one more time. Seriously, it's truly an honor to have been asked to provide your faculty graduation address. But I do, however, have to confess that I feel somewhat like an imposter because I'm more of an administrator than a faculty member. To that end, I've tried to remind myself to say what a faculty a graduation speaker might say, as opposed to my one last chance Dean of Student Affairs speech. So I hope my remarks represent what the faculty at whole would want to say, but don't be surprised if I slip up. So class of 2024, I need to start with a confession. I've spent 4 years, the past 4 years, considering you to be my responsibility. Not that your class is any different. This is, of course, the case with each class. It is, however, quite simplistic and somewhat paternalistic of me to be thinking that, but humor me and allow me to state publicly how incredibly proud I am that you have reached this point that I can no longer call you my students, but rather my colleagues, my friends, and a group of people with whom I am confident will serve your communities well. You and I have been through several memorable moments together, right? It all began in July 2020 when I had the audacity of calling you naive and unprofessional. You may not have agreed with me, even as I tried to explain where that conclusion came from, but I suspect as you think back on your 2020 self, you're probably a little less offended by that remark than you were then. Now, nearly 4 years later, I can say without hesitation that you have moved beyond your naivete and unprofessionalism. In fact, little did I know then the incredible demands, stresses, and unknowns that you would face and overcome. Well done. But this doesn't end the story. You are different people from those I met 4 years ago, true, but even though you're leaving VTCSOM and you're no longer my students, I care as much about you now as I did then. You could argue that any advice that I gave you over the past 4 years was peppered with some selfishness, as your success was in many ways my success. What I share with you now is as or more important than any guidance I've ever given up to this point. I give it not because you're a student at VTC. I give it out of a genuine sense of care for you as you move to this next phase in your journey. So, in an attempt to stymie my student affairs dean paternalistic instincts and speak to you as a colleague in the context of providing the faculty address at your graduation, I want to give you 3 charges for moving forward. The first is focus on your true north. We live and work in a high-stress environment. That fact alone should be sufficient to convince you that you need to know, to focus on, and to follow a true north. In addition to daily job stresses, you may have things like this happen to you. Fear that you'll be infected by a novel virus and expose your vulnerable family and friends. Have a patient unexpectedly die while under your care. Be paid a visit from a law enforcement official serving you papers that you're being sued for malpractice. Hear a provider report that a routine biopsy you had is positive for cancer. Receive a phone call from a close friend who has taken their own life. When things such as these happen to you, if you're anything like me, you will find yourself floundering for a season. It's at those times of floundering, you not only need an anchor, but you need to actively realign your priorities toward that anchor so that you can begin to heal. For me, my faith is my true north. For you, it may be something different. My faith provides me with my why. My care for my patients near the end of their lives and for students near the beginning of their medical education is not just a job. It's a calling I was created for and for which I am equipped even when it feels like I'm not. While you may not have those exact things happen to you, rest assured you will have circumstances that will, at that moment and maybe for the rest of your life, impact you. It is at these moments that you need to pause and enter a place where you can remind yourself of your driving motivations, your true north. The second thing I want to encourage you with is to feed your soul. While the statement you can't care for your patients if you don't care for yourself is somewhat overused, it is absolutely true. You have seen and quite possibly experienced burnout already in your young careers. Feeding your soul can be many things, from hiking to meditation, running to yoga, volunteering to reading, traveling to prayer. Whatever of these feeds your soul, find time to do them. Disconnect from the chaos of the world around you and connect with that which energizes you and thus prepares you for whatever faces you around the next corner. In addition to these internal habits which feed your soul, you also need to recognize the need for seek out and accept help from others. Burnout can take many forms. It can be acute and obvious, or chronic and inapparent. Residency will be difficult, make no mistake about it. But no matter where you are and what you're going through, there is help to be found. Seek it out. Medicine also is an inexact science, and you will make mistakes. Human nature would have us bury our mistakes. But hard as we try, however, we cannot bury the memories, the shame, or the guilt of our mistakes. And in the end, any attempt at such becomes soul-crushing. My encouragement for you is to learn from your mistakes, teach others about them, and strive to never make the same mistake twice. Learning is life-giving. Teaching and mentoring is life-giving. Committing to self-improvement is life-giving. And finally, find things worth fighting for. What we do seems incomprehensible to many. We spend considerable time and money to get into and go to medical school. Then we spend additional number of years being not so well paid for rather unpleasant training. Why do we do that? I would suggest it's because we're seeking more than a job. We want a profession. We are answering a yearning or a calling. We want the opportunity to change lives. You are 41 individuals entering 17 different specialties. After residency, you will pursue multiple subspecialties. And while some of you may settle on the same specialty or subspecialty, when you get together for your 25th reunion, you will have 41 different stories to tell. Unique stories of how the specialty you chose and the journey you followed provided you with the opportunity to change lives. Some will choose a path, a very clinical path, where your stories will be about walking with patients through challenges. Others will choose a focus of research, where your stories will be about discoveries. Still others will choose a healthcare administrative path with stories of system transformation. And some will choose a more academic journey. Your stories will be about mentorship and the success of others. Regardless of the path, my encouragement to you is, as you are writing that story, be present. Change happens through presence and perseverance. Be brave. Do the right thing, even if it's hard. Give back. Remember that someone at some point fought for you. There's a saying in the Pirkei Avot, a compilation of ethical teachings and maxims from the rabbinic Jewish tradition, that goes something like, "It is not your responsibility to finish the work of perfecting the world, but you are not free to desist from it either." So, whether at any particular moment you are fighting for your patient, a student or resident, or the system in general, fight with courage, tenacity, and compassion. See what I did there? I tried to be a little bit of alliterative there. I had 3 F verbs. Focus on your true north, feed your soul, and find things worth fighting for. These 3 things, however, are not standalones. They are absolutely interconnected, such that no one can be fully realized without the other 2. Focusing on that which drives you, your true north, will keep your soul fed and make certain the things you're fighting for are worthy of your effort. Feeding your soul nourishes you such that you are less likely to stray from your true north and allowing you to continue the fight. And as you find those things worth fighting for, you are reminding yourself of your calling in medicine, making that fight itself life-giving. I can't close this out without saying once again how much I cherish the privilege of having walked with you these past 4 years, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you at your graduation. There's little in life that will match the profound honor it has been to deliver this speech to you, this 41 spectacular individuals that I'm delighted to now call my colleagues. Thank you, thank you. I really don't know how to truly finish this speech, and not sure I really want to, but all I can say in closing to you, the 41 of you sitting there, is bravo, brava. Godspeed to you as you move on to the next exciting adventure on your journey through this incredible calling we call medicine. We have a tradition of inviting one of our alumni to speak during commencement. We're proud of our alumni, and having alumni speak to these newly graduating physicians gives you each a perspective of what it will be like the next few years. In July, only 2 months away, you, the graduates, will begin your journey as residents, preparing for the specialty you choose over the next 3 to 7 years. This year, we're inviting 2 graduates to the podium. Chris and Caroline McLaughlin. Chris graduated with the class of 2017, Caroline with the class of 2018. They met here in Roanoke in 2014 and were married right here in Roanoke in 2018. They're now the proud parents of Emerson, who is now 6 months old. When I asked them, how do I introduce them, they said, first and foremost, talk about Emerson. So Chris completed his undergraduate studies at Boston College and Caroline at the University of Florida. They were accomplished medical students here at VTCSOM. Both inducted into the AOA and the Gold Humanism Honor Society. Chris was his class president all 4 years. They've been quite accomplished residents as well. Chris in general surgery and Caroline in plastic and reconstructive surgery, both at Penn State Hershey. They are both currently chief residents and will be completing their respective residencies in a few weeks. After that, Caroline will enter a hand fellowship and Chris a trauma surgery critical care fellowship, both at the University of Pennsylvania. Please join me in welcoming Drs. Christopher and Caroline McLaughlin.
All right, good morning, and thank you, Dr. Knight. This is such an honor for us both. In July of 2018, I nervously showed up at the first ever M1 barbecue at the Mill Mountain Park under the Roanoke Star. I had a conversation with the guy making the burgers, and I never would have imagined that 10 years later, we would be giving our commencement speech at our medical school as husband and wife.
As alumni who were sitting on this stage a short 6 and 7 years ago, yet now are graduating residency, the focus of our time is meant to build on the strong tradition that you've already created at VTC as you transition into residency. We want to preface all of this talking by saying that the sum of your success comes from many places, namely your personal abilities, your perseverance in the face of difficulties, your connection with patients, and of course, the support of the family and friends, many of whom are here today or watching on YouTube. In reflecting on the time since our graduation, Caroline and I attribute much of our success to the training and mentorship that we received here in Roanoke at Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. You are uniquely positioned to embark on the residency journey as a patient-centered physician thought leader with a solid research background and a tie to your community. Do not doubt the training you've had thus far. You've got this.
In preparing our thoughts, our advice can be boiled down to 7 pearls that we hope you can fall back on throughout the course of your training. The first is trust the process. Residency is filled with days and weeks of the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. There will be good times. The first time you make a difficult diagnosis, the first time you do your first skin-to-skin case, and the first time you realized you're not afraid anymore. There will also be bad days. The first time you oversleep your alarm, the first time you break very bad news, and the first time you make a mistake that sticks with you throughout your entire career. Residency is difficult because it has to be. It's the proving ground through which you become the best physician you can be. Take the highs with the lows and know you will come out on the other side as a competent physician. Trust the process.
The second pearl we'd like to share is about building your brand. This process starts in about 8 weeks. As LB noted, the weight of that degree will be really felt that first time that they hand you your name badge and it says the letters MD afterwards. Your name now carries a reputation that it didn't before. For better and for worse, you're a brand to your patients, to your program, and to your community. People will know you as Dr. Insert Last Name, and so these groups will make assumptions about you based on what they've already read or heard or seen on the internet. Remember this, that brand is made when you are tired. That brand is made when you are stressed. That brand is made when you're pretty hungry. Or all three. Do everything you can to be kind, be professional, be generous, be a problem solver, be affable, and be honest when you make a mistake. Do not reject consults from people who are asking for your help. You want to be that resident when someone finds out you're on call, they think, thank goodness they're on, they'll be the ones to help me. Take the time to build that brand wisely, especially during your first few weeks.
The third is become comfortable with fear. You've become acquainted with this a bit in your experience so far throughout PBL, simulating challenging diagnostic workups, and through your clerkships. In a couple of months, this fear will become far more tangible. You will feel it most days in the face of uncertainty, crisis, inexperience, and pressure. It's okay to be afraid. Everyone is. Some people don't show it, but they are. It means you care, and it will subside with experience. Learn to work alongside it and be comfortable with it.
The fourth thing would be to look back on Fridays. Residency is actually pretty insidious. You won't be able to realistically feel the progress you're making. You'll never wake up and think, I'm ready to be an attending, or I'm ready to be a chief resident. At least we don't think so. It's difficult to describe, but you'll progressively develop pattern recognition. You'll no longer have to call pharmacy about medication dosing. Pages you previously had to call a senior resident about or you're attending, you'll manage yourself without hesitation. Perhaps one day your heart rate becomes a little less tachycardic when you're responding to a code or a trauma or delivering a baby or seeing a difficult clinic patient. You may not notice these things while they're happening, but noticing those things is an important part of your growth and can accelerate that momentum. Our advice is to look back every Friday. You'll notice your growth since Monday. Take pride in every one of those improvements. They are not small, and they add up quickly. Remember, the days are long, but the weeks are short, so look back on Fridays.
The fifth is don't become hardened. It is likely that the bad days that you have in the coming years will be something that you can't quite explain to yourself today. Don't let these trying times harden you. You will work alongside the breadth of the human condition. It will span physical ailments, geography, and worldviews. And with this diversity, you will experience the spectrum of joy to devastation, from birth to mortality, as you guide patients through the most intimate decisions human beings can face. For patients, these are sentinel events. They will time their lives around them, like before my surgery or after mom was in the hospital. For you, these events will likely be a Tuesday. This overwhelming experience may be a large part of what contributes to this notion of physician burnout. And to some degree, I do think it's normal to become a bit desensitized. But do not become disconnected. Do not become a less compassionate version of yourself. Let yourself feel. Share in your patient's sadness. Rejoice in their victories. If you transition your perspective to view the challenges ahead of you as the most exquisite privilege and not a burden, it can be an incredibly transformative experience. Do not become hardened.
The sixth pearl we wanted to share was about maintaining your relationships. The people sitting in this audience know you better than anyone and will get you through both the good and the bad days. With the little time you have outside of work, try your best to maintain these relationships. They'll persist through residency and beyond. Do your best to explain to your friends and family what you do, but don't expect them to understand it all. That's okay. To the family and friends out there, the people sitting on this stage, or in front of us actually, are about to enter a challenging few years. When they call you discouraged, remind them they're doing a good job. Remind them to eat, or better yet, send them food. Remind them to shower. Remind them of all the hard work they've put in thus far and what holiday or birthday is coming up. Remind them of today and how proud you are to be a part of their success. And for our graduates, while you maintain these relationships, it's also important you foster the ones that you build during your residency process and during your training in the program. Lean on your co-residents, your attendings, and the people who came before you for advice and support. They know better the obstacles you're facing and what it's like to be in your shoes. Find a mentor who can give you advice, someone like Dr. Knight, who can help you become both the personal and professional best version of yourself possible. Invest time in your community. By virtue of being here today, you are an asset to the community and whatever community you go out forth from here to serve. Find a place to volunteer, as you have here. Try all the restaurants that you can. Meet people outside of the hospital or clinic and invite your team or your friends over for dinner after work. These investments will pay dividends no matter where you end up. Remember where you came from, both home and Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. Maintain the relationships with classmates and faculty who were important to you here and supported you all the way to your seats in this auditorium today. These people may quite possibly become your colleagues one day, no matter where you end up.
Our final point, and we think the most important, is take care of people who happen to be your patients. Like any job, there will be hospital politics, administrative burden, and frustrating policies. Don't lose sight of why we do what we do, to take care of fellow human beings. In doing that, get to know them. Many are experts in their own field. Inquire about their expertise. Make Dr. Schmidt-Dalton proud and ask what keeps them busy at home. Find out how they spend their days and what is important to them. Patient care comes in many forms, far more than yielding a scalpel, interpreting a lab, or prescribing a medication. Often it looks like the smallest moments and gestures. When you are in a patient's room, be present. Learn their family's names. Don't hurry to leave the room. Don't rip off dressings. Walk them out of the clinic. Get them warm blankets. Hold their hand when they are going to sleep before surgery. Before you execute the science of medicine, practice the art of it. Look out for the person who happens to be your patient.
These pearls are what we came up with to assist you in your transition to your first physician practice. Build that brand, trust the process, become comfortable with fear, look back on Fridays, don't become hardened, maintain your relationships, and above all else, take care of the person who happens to be your patient. We hope that in sharing these pearls with you, you're more prepared for the journey ahead and can think back to today and think, somebody warned me. There is certainly much to be excited for. Many of these lessons you'll learn on your own and hopefully pass down to medical students someday through your own trying experiences. We hope that during these times, you know you are not alone. You have an auditorium of people today who sit here in awe of the accomplishments and the work that you've put in over the last 4 years. And I promise you, no matter what, there will always be at least 2 people rooting for you, just as you should absolutely be rooting for yourself. Thank you to Dr. Knight for the invitation and Dean Learman for allowing us to speak here today, a place that we are both so grateful for, and continues to produce incredible physicians capable of entering the most complex of practices at any institution in the world. It is an honor to stand in front of you today and share our thoughts with you and to the community who made us who we are. Congratulations to the class of 2024.
I'm incredibly grateful to Chris and Caroline for their timely and wise recommendations. They are timeless, as many of us who are remembering our residency right now in the context of their pearls are saying yes, yes, and yes. So I'm glad you were listening so clearly to them. Lots of wisdom there. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Brian Unwin. Dr. Unwin is professor in the departments of internal medicine and family and community medicine at the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine and section chief of geriatrics and palliative medicine at Carilion Clinic. He attended college majoring in molecular biology at the University of Colorado and received his MD degree from the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences in 1988. He completed internship and residency in family medicine at Martin Army Community Hospital before serving as a family medicine staff physician and flight surgeon from 1991 to 94. Over the next 10 years, Dr. Unwin rose through the ranks in military medicine as an academic and clinical leader in family medicine. He completed the Geriatrics Fellowship Program at Madigan Army Medical Center and the Puget Sound VA in 2004 before returning to the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences to serve for 8 years as Vice Chair of Family Medicine. He joined Carilion Clinic as the Section Chief of Geriatrics and Palliative Medicine in 2013 and the medical school as faculty in 2014. Dr. Unwin's expertise in interdisciplinary and collaborative care for patients with dementia has been featured in many presentations and publications, including those by the American Geriatrics Society, American Academy of Family Physicians, and the Virginia Governor's Conference on Aging. At Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, Dr. Unwin is best known for his wisdom and compassionate care of geriatric patients. He supports the work of his wife, Dr. Cindy Unwin, in fostering creativity and reflective practice of our students through narrative medicine. And in March of this year, he was inducted into the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine chapter of the Gold Humanism Honor Society in recognition of his commitment to humanism and compassion in patient care and education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Unwin to the podium.
Dear students, Dr. Lehrman, faculty, families, and guests, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. A special note of thanks to my wife. Soulmate, 38 years. She is the co-pilot of my life and my journey, and I wouldn't be here today without her. What seems like a long time ago in a country far, far away, I began a very absurd human experience of getting seriously sick and perhaps having a life-threatening condition. It taught me a few things, and being a teacher at heart, I'm happy to share those thoughts with you today. So there I was, enjoying the sights, sounds, and tastes of Ireland. I caught COVID there, and following that, a couple weeks later, I developed an intestinal obstruction caused by a large mass coming from my pancreas. I spent 39 days in the hospital and underwent a major abdominal surgery to remove the blockage and to create a bypass. That procedure, called the Whipple procedure, is the most commonly performed surgery to resect pancreatic cancer, cancer that I presumptively had until proven otherwise. I did not know that I did not have cancer until the day of my discharge. And that gave me a lot of time to think about my past, my present, my future, time to worry and reflect, and many moments of laughter and joy. When my head was clear, I would try to write it all down in Caringbridge, and it appears that the greatest literary moment of that time was a brief entry on the 14th of October at 3:55 p.m. stating that I passed gas. And it appears that the people who choose commencement speakers are easily impressed. And while I attempted to be bright and optimistic, I spent a lot of hours worried about my future. A lot of time during a hospital stay is spent with your own thoughts, and my thoughts frequently took me back to a retired soldier that I cared for 12 years ago, who ultimately died from pancreatic cancer. Jim was a true kindred spirit, a retired officer, soldier, family man, beach bum, karaoke singer. In different circumstances, I would have wanted him and his wife to be our friends. Providing care for the two of them was one of the most difficult and beautiful experiences I have ever had in my 36 years of being a physician. Unfortunately, his end-of-life course was one I would call therapeutic folly, resulting in the phenomenon of total pain, the experience of physical, emotional, social, and spiritual suffering. Mil-speak, that unique language used in the military services, filled with acronyms, jargon, colorful speech, and operationally focused verbs, was the language we used in our goals of care discussions. There was no cavalry coming to save his day, and the only exit strategy was hospice care. He wanted to keep fighting a losing battle. Yep, I've carried that man around with me for 12 years, and I'll tell you how that story ended later. But in understanding his story and reflecting on his narrative helped me help him at that time, through that difficult time. And ultimately, he made me a better physician. And he was helpful to me in my navigation of the difficulties I experienced last fall. My narrative begins when I was born into a working class family. I am the progeny of 5 generations of individuals that served in the military, dating back to the Revolutionary War. I'm a first-generation college graduate. I attended the University of Colorado on an ROTC scholarship, and then the Uniformed Services University, America's medical school. When I retired from the Army, I received a challenge coin emblazoned with the words, "Soldier for Life." And I guess I've been a soldier now for 44 years. After residency, I became a paratrooper and a flight surgeon. I deployed to Somalia for Operation Restore Hope in 1992. Life's twists and turns took my military career from an operational medicine pathway to a clinician, educator, leader pathway with special interests in geriatrics, palliative, and narrative medicine. In our narrative medicine course here at VTC, our hope is that students will practice self-reflection and creative expression throughout the rest of their careers. That is our hope for all of you today. All of that military time, coupled with my own personal struggle with an autoimmune condition, interstitial cystitis, created in me a certain philosophy and approach to life. And in mil-speak, with those colorful words, the philosophy I developed was to embrace the suck. To learn to deal with the things that you take the bad in stride. Embracing difficulty builds bridges of resilience that allows you to cross the chasm between your training, your experience, your knowledge, and the harsh realities you'll face in clinical and everyday life. It's easy to say those words, but how does one embrace difficult things and do it with aplomb? A story that embraces the hardness of life is found in Greek mythology. Sisyphus is the character condemned by the Greek gods to carry a stone up a hill, only to release that burden and that stone at the top, and then be compelled to go back down that hill and repeat that task again and again for an eternity. People often know the story, and it is often used to describe the human condition. But what most people don't know is why Sisyphus was tasked for such a fate. And his crime was that he cheated Thanatos, the Greek god of death, on 2 occasions. But wait a minute. Isn't that what we've been training you to do for the last 4 years? Uh-oh. And let me tell you, laying in that hospital bed for nearly 6 weeks, not knowing whether or not I might have something bad inside of me, I wanted to cheat death. I wanted to do everything I could do, with some limits to do so. We should all understand our limits, and Sisyphus could be viewed as an individual who doesn't. But it also seems that Sisyphus is also a guy that gets the meaning of embracing difficult tasks. For me, there are four elements in the Sisyphus allegory: the person, the stone, the hill, and the Greek gods. And I'll start with the Greek gods. When Sisyphus trapped Thanatos, death ended on earth. And the gods eventually learned of that, and they sent out search parties for Thanatos, because without death, human suffering on earth is unending and intolerable. And there's a message for us here. Much can be done to prevent all the different forms of suffering. But prolonging suffering with our actions or inaction can be a fate worse than death. So, shameless plug here, take geriatric medicine and take palliative care electives during your residency training. Become the physicians who can embrace, manage, and counsel others on the uncertainties of advancing age, advancing illness, suffering, dying, and death. The second element of the story is the mountain that Sisyphus was compelled to climb. He was offered an opportunity to escape the underworld, and that was something he craved desperately. As medical school graduates, you have climbed some big mountains. Now there's that one called residency. But what comes after that? The nature of climbing mountains is that there's ups and downs and twists and turns to get where you want to go. If you've hiked McAfee, Dragon's Tooth, or Tinker Cliffs, you know the view is beautiful after all that work. Similarly, the profession of medicine is a beautiful thing, and it is hard. We must embrace the hardness of it, or we'll miss the beauty of it. I certainly wasn't expecting this mountain of illness at this point in my life. At times, all I saw at 2 a.m. were sheer cliffs. My faith, my family, my training, my docs and nurses and chaplains and social workers, with many of those beautiful souls being in this room today, they got me through it all, and I'm deeply, deeply indebted to them. The third element is the stone, the burden that Sisyphus carries. Burdens can be so many things, seen and unseen. Of course, we carry our measure of our mistakes and misadventures, our guilt, shame, anxiety, and sadness. And we can't forget the burden of trying to be perfect. It is also important to remember how the weight of these burdens can increase the higher you go on this mountain of life, and simultaneously it will lessen because we have become stronger as we have climbed. My experiences have allowed me to see the beauty and the love that supported me through that difficult time and now. The last element of the story is the person, Sisyphus. Sisyphus, of course, is a metaphor for all of us, and let's face it, we're all trying to cheat death or aging in one way or another. I think there are two persons embedded within the Sisyphus character as they relate to our profession of medicine. Sisyphus also represents our patients and their journey. And then when I think of Sisyphus as a physician, he is a person that is carrying his personal burdens up his hill, while simultaneously carrying his patients and their burdens up their hills. Whew, I'm tired just talking about it. Give yourself some grace and time, and you'll get to the top of your professional and personal hills. Your faculty and your mentors will vouch for that. In Albert Camus' interpretation of the Sisyphus story, he asks us to imagine Sisyphus as a happy man because he embraced the idea that life can be absurd. Camus argued that the only lucid response to the absurdity in life is the defiant non-acceptance of the forces that are pushing against us. Additionally, He argues that we should become enchanted and inhabit the moments of our lives, and that we should let the struggle of the heights fill our hearts. Our achievements, our science, our productivity, our winning and our income, these things distract us from the beauty in our lives. So going back to Jim, my patient with the pancreatic cancer. When Jim learned that music therapy was part of hospice care, he turned away from therapeutic folly. And in that moment, we learned of our mutual enjoyment of the music of the legendary Elvis Costello. Now, you may not know who he is, but we probably do. And he had an epic song called Peace, Love, and Understanding. And don't worry, I'm not going to sing it to you. But during that beautiful visit, both Jim and his wife sang that song in front of my team and I, and it was one of the most profound experiences of my life. And here are the lyrics to that song that changed everything about the goals of care discussion we had that day, and in many ways, changed my life. As I walk through this wicked world, searching in the light and the darkness of insanity, I ask myself, is all hope lost? Is there only pain and hatred and misery? And each time I feel like this inside, there's one thing I want to know. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Lastly, I'll leave you with a quote from F. Scott Fitzgerald. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in mind at the same time and still maintain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. And you all possess that intellect. So the next time you think of something awful, think about all of the speeches today. Embrace the hardness, embrace the beauty. You're stronger than you think. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today, and may the 4th be with you.
Thanks so much, Brian. Okay, we've heard from the representatives of the student body, the faculty, alumni, and finally our esteemed keynote speaker. Today's about celebrating the completion of a 4-year journey for our students. So on to what you all came here to witness. Would the class of 2024 please rise? Dean Lehrman, I have the high honor and great privilege of presenting to you the candidates for the degree Doctor of Medicine from the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine.
Thank you, Dr. Knight. Upon the recommendation of the faculty of the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I hereby confer upon each of you the degree of Doctor of Medicine, with all rights, powers, and privileges pertaining thereunto.
Would the doctors please make their way backstage? We call these ceremonies commencement for a reason. For graduation marks the end of one thing but the beginning of another. These 41 people are now set to begin their journey as physicians. In the graduation program, you will note the specialty as well as the residency program where our graduates will be training. As we send them off, we want to introduce them to you. As each name is called, the members of the class will proceed to the front of the stage where they will be hooded by Vice Dean Pauly in the clinical chair from the specialty into which that student will be training. The exterior of their hood is a green velvet, the traditional color for medicine. The interior of the hood is blue and maroon, representing the colors of Carilion Clinic and Virginia Tech, which taken together are the official colors of VTCSOM. After the hooding, each student will then proceed to Dean Learman, who will present them with their diploma. You may take your photographs of the hooding, but we ask that you not impede the view of the official photographer, who will be taking pictures of the graduates receiving their diplomas. Ladies and gentlemen, and Dean Learman, I present to you the members of the class of 2024, recipients of the degree of Doctor of Medicine from the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. Devra Minganji Gwinyi Asa. Martin Piotr Berilak. Patrick James Beck. Jesse Gordon Bendetson. Abhishek Buttada. David Allen Brooks II. Lauren Ann L.B. Canary. Stephanie Hamlin Carpentier. Liam Marlon Cleary. Patrick John D'Onofrio. Stephen James Dvorak. Nama Blessing Edokobi. Casey Elizabeth Engel. Carney Joe Flynn. Brandon Gangina. Casey Janet Hoyt. Audrey Iming Humphreys. Kason Reed Hutchings. Kelly Jean Ingram. Akash Jain. Caroline Hyung-Soo Kim. Megan Knapp. My bad. Ilana Kate. Catherine Ann Lavalle. Melissa Ruth Leaf. Celine Rose Marlon Andrews. Caroline Martha Mebane. Vemi Metsutnan. Mary Grace Minor. Alexandra Ann Minor. Douglas Wayne Murray III. Daniel John Purcell. Erica Marie Robertson. Abigail Elaine Ruffle. Abigail Elizabeth Simpson. Neha Singh. Samantha Lee Speroni. Miles Andrew Thomas. Benjamin Shung Tintera. Nirali Paraj Trivedi. Serena Ashley Williams. Will the class of 2024 please rise?
You may be seated. I now invite Dr. Jed Gonzalo, our Senior Associate Dean for Medical Education, to please come forward and lead our new graduates and all physicians present in reciting the Hippocratic Oath. Dr. Gonzalo.
Would all physicians in our attendance, including our newest physicians, stand and recite the oath, which can be found on the last page of the program. I swear to fulfill to the best of my ability and judgment, and with the support and encouragement of others, this covenant. I will respect the hard-won scientific gains of those in whose steps I walk, and gladly share such knowledge as is mine with those who are to follow. I will apply, for the benefit of my patients, all measures appropriate, avoiding those twin traps of overtreatment and undertreatment. I will practice the art of medicine as well as science, remembering that warmth, sympathy, and understanding may outweigh the use of scalpel or drug. I will not be ashamed to say I know not, nor will I fail to call on my colleagues when the skills of another are needed. I will remember that I do not care for a patient alone. Rather, I am part of an interprofessional team, all of whom offer their skills to assist with patient care and caring. I will respect the privacy of my patients, for their problems are not disclosed to me that the world may know. Most especially must I tread with care in matters of life and death, recognizing this awesome responsibility must be faced with great humility and awareness of my own frailty. I will remember that I do not treat data or disease, but a sick human being whose illness may affect family and economic stability. My responsibility includes these related issues if I am to care adequately for my patient. I will prevent disease whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to cure. I will remember that I remain a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow human beings, those sound of mind and body, as well as the infirm. If I do not violate this oath, may I enjoy life and art, respect it while I live, and remembered with affection thereafter. May I always act so as to preserve the finest traditions of my calling, and may I long experience the joy of serving those who seek my help. You may be seated.
On behalf of all physicians here today, I am very proud to formally welcome the Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine class of 2024 into our profession. Will the class please stand one last time to be recognized? Please be seated. Thanks again to all of our guests for coming this morning. There will be a reception to follow at Fitzpatrick Hall here at the Jefferson Center, and I hope to see you there. Now will the ceremonial party and graduates please stand with me for the recessional. Thank you.